Welcome to the Dream 100 Show, the epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tesner.
Today, I want to share with you one of the most highly underrated digital marketing tactic that business owners are sleeping on. In today's podcast episode, I'm going to talk about all of the ins and outs when it comes to geofencing. Geofencing is one of my favorite tactics that is massively underutilized, but it's also massively misunderstood. So I'm going to talk through how we're using it at the Dream 100 company, how we're using it with our done-for-you Dream 100 clients, but also on a larger scale, how can you use this? And I'm confident that when we start to talk through use cases, give you other examples, you're going to start to have a lot of aha moments. I can promise you that. So buckle up as we dive in. So I first want to explain in the simplest of terms what geofencing is. So geofencing is where you're leveraging a software tool or a SaaS tool to place a virtual fence, which is called the geofence, around an area. And when you have that virtual fence, as long as people have location services on, for example, when they walk into that fence, that virtual fence, that area that you kind of put it around, you start to capture data. And you can run ads to those people. So in the simplest of forms, let's say that you have a music festival and it's in this geographic area. You could say, I want to draw a fence around the festival. I want it to just run for one day. And that all those people then that walk into that fence that have location on, you can then have them in this database and run ads to them. Now, before you're like, oh my God, Michael, this is insane. And it is, but I want to call out one very, very specific thing, because this is where it's massively understood. When they walk into that virtual fence, that does not mean you're getting their name. So it's not like they walk into this virtual fence and this software tool says, hey, Michael Tasner walked into your virtual fence at 10:05 in the morning, for example. That's not how that works. What it'll do is now my cell phone, which has location on, I might go to Facebook and maybe I'm going to see an ad for a future concert that you're doing. Maybe I'm going to see an ad for, hey, did you get a chance to buy all of the merch from the actual concert? We know that we ran out. Maybe I'm going to see ads during the performance, and they're going to be putting out a variety of ads to those people. And it can be instantaneous in the sense of you walk into the virtual fence, and then if they jump over to Facebook, for example, or Google or Fox, one of those news channels, they can start to see your ads. All that stuff on the back end can be customized and catered. So that's what it is in the simplest of terms. If you pause for a second, I want to look at what are some of the best use cases that we've used it, but also what are some of the places that we've tried using it where it's been a absolute failure. So let's say that you have a retail store and you're in the mall and you want to run ads to people that walk into the mall because you want to drive them over to your particular retail spot. Now, on one hand, to me, it makes logical sense. They're in the mall. Let's try and run some ads to them. But if your retail business is very niche, what's going to happen is when you place that virtual fence, people that don't fit the criteria are going to walk into that particular area, and you're going to be showing some ads to people that may not be a great fit. Now, when I look at the pros and cons, I mean, to me, the pros of actually running those ads make a heck of a lot more sense to run them than not. But keeping in mind that if you cast a really wide net, anyone that's walking into that fence, they could be walking on a sidewalk, for example, and just happened to pass through, but they weren't ultimately walking into a retail business that you were geofencing or a particular building. But if you take a few steps back and you say, all right, what are some ways that I could actually geofence and have it make a lot of sense? So first, if you're a landscaper, you could pick a variety of neighborhoods and you could draw your virtual fence around those neighborhoods. And as your customers or potential customers are walking into those, you could have a very specific ad that calls out their neighborhood. Attention, families that live in XYZ neighborhood. We've got this amazing landscape special offer that's good for now until the next 2 weeks. You could literally laser in on specific neighborhoods. Now, one other misconception, and I don't want to overcomplicate this, but I promise it'll make more and more sense as we kind of continue talking and I share other examples. What you can't do is essentially pinpoint with you picking one specific house. Like you can't say, I only want to run an ad on Michael Tasner's house and this exact house, and I want to run this ad for perpetuity. You can't get that minute because it would be a little bit invasive. Like there are restrictions as to how small that geofence can be. Now, the other item with that I'm going to give you a counterpoint is that within different software tools, this is where it gets really, really exciting. As you know your demographics, let's say that you are in the used car sales space. Let's say you're a buy here, pay here dealer, so you can finance, but traditionally a buy here, pay here dealer, they're not going to have the best of credit. For people that walk into a buy here, pay here, usually have poor credit. Well, you can run ads on this geofence tool and say, I want to geofence people's houses that have bad credit, they're within this age, and they're within this particular zip code. And it will literally fence those houses. It won't tell you exactly the house numbers, but it's going to say, great, you can run ads or fence 915 people, for example. So now you're literally geofencing the exact targeted people that live in that exact neighborhood that you want to go after. Imagine if you own a preschool, daycare center, dance studio, martial arts studio. You can literally be running ads to families that have the exact age that you're looking for, that live within X amount of miles of your particular studio or your center or your dojo. Literally with pinpoint accuracy, the tool will be able to go in and pick those houses. Again, it won't tell you here's the exact houses, it'll tell you how many you have. You can geofence all their particular neighborhoods. Think about the power of that. Being able to literally target exactly who your demographics are. Whereas tools like Facebook or Google or TikTok, like we'll use TikTok as an example, you can add some targeting, but you can't get down to, I want to target this particular street. With Facebook, you can't get down to, I want to target this particular exact street. It's not something that happens. It's not realistic. It's not an option. This is why this is one of the most slept on tactics. Now, the other area that we've used it for, and this is my ultra stealth tactic that I want to give you. So I want to thank you as a listener, and I try and give you everything and anything that I know. And this one, I promise you, is going to be an amazing one. Regardless of what business you're in, your target customers, your target clients, your prospects, they're going to hang out at certain conferences, certain events, certain venues. For example, if you're in the contracting space, home improvement space, I live in Buffalo, New York. I believe it was just this past weekend. Usually I go, but didn't this year. The Buffalo Home Show. That home show has tens of thousands of people that are within an area, and they're going and visiting, looking at all these different booths of people that offer different products and services. Imagine if they were then going on Facebook and going on Google and they were seeing your ads for whatever you're offering, but you weren't even there. You weren't there because A, maybe you didn't want to invest the $10,000 to $30,000 that it costs for booths and having people working it and all the fees that go to different vendors. Maybe you weren't in town, But what ends up happening is people start seeing your ads. You could say that you're running a Buffalo Home Show special, and you're literally not even there. So what are all the industry events? What are the conferences that your audience is going to that you can put a virtual fence around for a short time to know that as they walk into this virtual fence, you're going to end up triggering, putting them on the list, and being able to market to them? That is one of my favorite strategies to do. And it works for international businesses, local businesses, but you have to think a little bit wider. My niche is different types of business owners and people that are traditionally doing at least $500,000 a year up to $100 million a year. So what if I look at all the entrepreneurial conferences? I can geofence every single one of those and say, have you considered our Done For You Dream 100 program to double your business in 12 months flat? Click here to learn more. And I'm legit not even at the conference. But I know that my target audience is there, and I want to laser target with precision. Think about if you, and this is a little kind of gray, what if you were geofencing law offices, or in particular maybe the parking lot at a law office, and you're trying to target other people's clients, for example. Maybe it's a personal injury attorney, and that's a sharkish world. Well, maybe people that are going and getting a consult at a law office, you could be running ads. Don't hire another attorney before you talk to us. Highest payments guaranteed. And that's gray and what I would deem sharkish, but if we're thinking outside the box, the opportunities start to become endless. So between you starting to then figure out, where do I want to place these virtual fences? Where is my audience? Where are they already hanging out? What conferences, events? I do it at any event that I'm also hosting. Yes, you have a list. You know who's going to be there. That doesn't mean that you have every single one of those people's phones pixeled so that you can be running ads, and maybe you're running a special to get them to register for next year before the event's already there. I'm in an entrepreneur group called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. They have one of the largest events that they do every year is called NERV. There'll be 750 to 1,000 plus entrepreneurs doing at least $1 million in revenue in a room for 3 days. I will definitely be geofencing that particular room and talking about our Done For You Dream 100 program. I could call out a show special if I wanted. I'm not telling a lie that I'm exhibiting if I'm not exhibiting. That one I will be attending. But why couldn't you call it a show special? This stuff works like a charm. It's a little bit different, and most people misunderstand it. They think like I just draw on a big map, or I can only target like 10 miles. Historically, you can get down to 1/4 of a mile. But again, understand there's going to be a little bit of leakage. You're going to get some people in that fence that aren't 100% your demographic. But if you start to think all this stuff through, where is your audience hanging out? If you're targeting soccer moms, for example, and where there's a local business, and I believe they're like a franchise called Soccer Shots, why couldn't you target soccer training facilities, soccer fields, for example? Now, there are some restrictions, like you can't go and target schools in terms of the actual school. You can't be targeting daycare centers because there's obviously privacy laws when it comes to marketing to kids and things like that. So there are some restrictions, but all in all, this is literally one of the most slept on tactics because you're pixeling their phone. You're then getting to show the ads that you want to the right audience, and they're hyper targeted. You're able to cut through all that noise, but also, as I said, you can make it seem like you're at certain events live. You literally could be at this Chamber of Commerce special, home show special, and you're literally just kind of keeping tabs of when these events are and seminars and things like that. Could also go for e-commerce businesses. Regardless of what you're selling, if you're in the dog industry, there's going to be dog conferences, there's going to be dog shows, there's going to be dog parks. Why couldn't you geofence every dog park in the United States? Literally geofence all of them. If you want to take it a step further, you segment out each individually. You have a specific ad that says special for people that go to XYZ dog park. Think of the power of that versus just targeting dog owners in general. People that go to dog parks have another layer of connection to their dog. Do some thinking about this. Start to kind of process where you could start to fence and put an action plan for you to get this into place. Do not sleep on geofencing. I promise you, it's a tactic that you want to deploy in 2025 as soon as you can. Tune in next week. I'm going to continue bringing the fire. Got an amazing episode next week for you. Michael Tazer signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.